Hello everyone. Welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In our previous episode, we talked about the labyrinth battle where Ramiris, the labyrinth queen, sent Epito, Beretta, and Kamara to mercilessly torment Dino and his group. Ramiris's ultimate goal was to push Dino to resist Feldway's control, but Dino remained as unmotivated as ever. In this episode, we'll shift our focus away from Dino and look at the battle between the ever-improving Zegion and the foolish yet powerful Vega. So, let's get started. Vega was in top form, and of course, knowing his personality, top form for Vega meant being completely overconfident. He laughed loudly as he eroded the labyrinth, convinced that he had already achieved 90% erosion of this layer, and that it would soon fall into his hands. Vega had no idea how easily he was taking over the labyrinth. It was almost too easy. What he didn't know was that Ramiris had long since isolated this layer. He recalled hearing Feldway, Zelario, and Dino constantly talk about how terrifying the labyrinth was, but to him, this supposedly powerful labyrinth couldn't even stand up to his Lord of Evil Dragons. The thought made Vega overjoyed. It wasn't just that. Vega found out that even he was so obviously eroding the labyrinth, and yet none of its guardians seemed to have noticed. Vega didn't find this strange. On the contrary, he was thrilled, thinking this was a testament to his overwhelming power. He began to imagine the humiliation of those so-called labyrinth guardians when he eventually crushed them. Once he broke through the labyrinth, not only would Fen, Jahil, and Zelario respect him, but even Feldway would have to re-evaluate his worth, granting him the position of top-ranked 3-star admiral. That's right, Vega truly believed that he should be the strongest, standing shoulder to shoulder with Feldway. As he continued to gloat and fantasize about his inevitable victory over the labyrinth, he eagerly anticipated proving that he was the greatest. But just then, in a place where there should have been no one else, a voice suddenly rang out, mocking Vega's arrogance. The voice sneered, saying that it was a joke that someone like Vega truly thought he could conquer the labyrinth. Vega looked up and saw something that shouldn't have existed, a glowing butterfly with rainbow-colored wings fluttering in the air. Confused, Vega watched as the butterfly's form gradually shifted, transforming into a humanoid figure clad in black adamantite armor, resembling an insect warrior. The armored exoskeleton on its hands, feet, and the horn protruding from its forehead glowed with the rainbow sheen unique to the ultimate metal, hierocane. Vega, puzzled, asked who the figure was. In response, the figure spoke in a dignified voice, introducing himself as Zegion, Miss Lord under Rimura-sama's command. This wasn't the illusion that had appeared in front of Dino earlier. This was the real Miss Lord, ethereal and formidable. The strongest guardian of the labyrinth had come to face Vega. However, Vega didn't sense the danger that Zegion posed. Having discovered a new way to use his power, Vega was under the delusion that he was about to conquer the labyrinth, and felt invincible. His overconfidence swelled, especially because this was his domain, and he could vaguely sense Zegion's existence points. In simple terms, Vega believed his power was 4 times that of Zegion. With that belief, Vega was convinced that his victory was inevitable. Sneering, Vega remarked that he had never even heard of Zegion. Though Vega said this, he actually knew of Zegion. After all, Dino had repeatedly warned him about the dangers of the labyrinth, and Zegion's name was always mentioned. But Vega, being disinterested, had dismissed those warnings as idle chatter. Vega then asked Zegion when he had managed to infiltrate his domain. Realizing that someone had been able to hide from him should have raised red flags for Vega, but his arrogant nature brushed it off as unimportant. To Vega, strength was everything, and he was certain of his overwhelming power. Zegion, unfazed, coolly responded that he had been there all along. Upon hearing this, Vega became even more arrogant. Instead of recognizing Zegion's ability to remain hidden as a threat, Vega took it as confirmation of his own superiority. If Zegion had been there from the start, it only meant he had failed to escape out of fear. Vega smugly concluded that Zegion was just a weakling hiding in terror, having missed his chance to flee. Vega grew even more arrogant, declaring that Zegion was truly unlucky and should feel honored to become his prey. As he boasted, Vega created 4 evil dragon beasts and ordered them to eliminate Zegion. Each evil dragon beast had existence points exceeding 4 million, which, in Vega's mind, would easily match Zegion. While one might struggle alone, with 4 attacking simultaneously, Vega thought victory was assured. In the next instant, the 4 evil dragon beasts charged at Zegion, but in a blinding flash of light, they were all shredded to pieces. The attack was so fast that even Vega couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Vega was shocked, but his first thought was that Zegion must have used some trick. He still didn't see Zegion as a threat. The reason, according to Vega's logic, was simple. If Zegion had the power to kill him, the best time to strike would have been while Vega was busy focusing on eroding the labyrinth. The fact that Zegion waited until now, in Vega's view, meant that Zegion feared him and was forced into fighting because he had no place left to hide. For Vega, facts didn't matter, only his feelings did. This flawed thinking prevented him from realizing the danger Zegion posed. From our perspective, however, it was clear that Zegion hadn't attacked earlier because he was waiting for Ramiris to fully isolate the area, ensuring Vega couldn't escape. As the labyrinth's guardian, Zegion would never allow anyone to defile it. And for that reason, Zegion had been suppressing a furious, boiling rage. Vega, unaware of Zegion's growing anger, carelessly told him not to get cocky over defeating his weak, minion-level evil dragon beasts. Vega then claimed that the labyrinth now belonged to him. This blatant ignorance only fueled Zegion's wrath, though for a moment, Zegion was left speechless by Vega's cluelessness. Vega continued to provoke, casually remarking that he vaguely remembered Zegion being one of Rimura's more famous subordinates. But, he added, it didn't matter who Zegion was, none of them would make a difference. By this point, Zegion had clenched his fists, his patience hanging by a thread. Vega, oblivious to the mounting danger, continued to babble. He mentioned that he had to be wary of a woman named TenSura, who had fought him once before. He had let her escape due to his carelessness, but next time, he vowed to eat her. Thankfully, TenSura had already left the labyrinth to rescue Carrera, otherwise she would be rampaging alongside Zegion. Vega went on, mentioning another figure named Benimaru, along with someone else whose name he couldn't remember. However, Vega dismissed them all as insignificant, just weak, pitiful creatures before his might. With unwavering confidence, Vega believed he had the upper hand and spoke recklessly, unaware that his words were akin to signing his own death warrant. Completely assured of his dominance, he continued to spout nonsense, utterly oblivious to the impending consequences. Zegion was left speechless by Vega's arrogance. He calmly stated that when facing an enemy, there was no need for excessive words. Instead, one should assess their strength with their eyes and focus solely on defeating them. Vega, however, sneered in contempt, mocking Zegion as a cowardly weakling who had been hiding and now dared to talk big. Zegion replied that this was exactly the kind of thing Vega should see for himself. Vega, full of disdain, unleashed his aura and assumed a fighting stance. Despite Zegion's calm demeanor, which should have raised doubts in Vega's mind, he rationalized it away. Vega convinced himself that Zegion felt confident because of the labyrinth's resurrection feature, believing that even if he died, he could come back to life. Vega laughed, boasting about how foolish Zegion was to think he could survive just because of the labyrinth's respawn abilities. He proudly declared that the labyrinth now belonged to him, and that he would quickly end this battle, proving his own greatness. Vega believed that by informing Zegion of the labyrinth's lost immortality feature, it would shake his resolve. However, before Vega could finish his taunt, Zegion moved faster, cutting off his endless talk. In Zegion's view, it was unbelievable how Vega could stand there, fully prepared for battle, yet still prattle on. Zegion's patience had reached its limit. He decided that anyone who defiled the labyrinth deserved to die. With his inner rage fully unleashed, Zegion attacked, silencing Vega with a single blow. A light jab from Zegion sent Vega flying. To clarify, Zegion had reluctantly agreed to Ramiris and Benimaru's plan to isolate Vega within a part of the labyrinth, but he wasn't happy about it. For Zegion, the labyrinth was his home, and he wouldn't allow anyone to defile it. This explains the depth of Zegion's rage. Returning to the fight, Vega, clutching his now bloody nose, glared at Zegion. He felt a bit confused. After all, he had consumed the labyrinth and gained its immortality feature. Though he hadn't died, this punch made Vega realize something important. Even though he had gained access to the labyrinth's immortality and its infinite energy source, this didn't equate to increased offensive power. Existence points alone didn't determine one's combat strength. Meanwhile, Zegion continued his silent assault, and before Vega could process what was happening, his vision was plunged into darkness again, this time from Zegion's powerful kick. Zegion's Godspeed maneuvering was beyond Vega's comprehension. He moved so swiftly that illusions and reality blended together, surrounding Vega with countless afterimages. Vega could only rely on his sharp instincts to defend himself as best he could. Fully focused on defense, Vega was indeed formidable. In particular, the ultimate enchantment Lord of Martial Creation, which he had obtained by devouring Orcalia, served him well. In his Magian form, Vega's entire body was shielded by armor equivalent to a mythical-grade protection. Not only that, Vega's defense reached its peak as he emitted a strange glow, forming 3 overlapping diamond-shaped shields in front of him. But then, with a resounding smash, Zegion's simple punch shattered 2 of the shields instantly, leaving the final one with visible cracks. This realization finally shattered Vega's arrogance. He now understood that he had greatly underestimated Demon Lord Rimuru and his subordinates. Zegion, a servant of Rimuru, possessed strength far beyond what Vega had imagined. Vega acknowledged Zegion's strength but refused to give up. He began thinking strategically, using reverse logic. Rather than being surprised that Zegion had destroyed 2 of his mythical-grade shields, Vega told himself that Zegion had only managed to break 2, which meant Zegion couldn't fully breach his defenses. With this reasoning, Vega believed that no matter how many times his shields were shattered, he could easily create new ones due to his vast energy reserves. He deployed an even stronger defensive technique, Invincible, a series of circular shields. With his command, 4 rings, each a meter in diameter, appeared and hovered around him, automatically defending his position. Vega was confident that if 3 mythical-grade shields weren't enough, then 4 would surely suffice. These shields could regenerate instantly after being destroyed, so Vega was certain he couldn't be defeated. With this new plan in mind, Vega reverted to his smug demeanor, telling Zegion not to think victory was assured because he hadn't even used his true strength yet. Zegion was left speechless by Vega's arrogance. As Vega, enraged by Zegion's calmness, accused him of pretending to be unfazed, 2 of Vega's shields were instantly destroyed. Startled, Vega swallowed his words. Zegion, still silent, continued his relentless assault, breaking the shields only for them to regenerate over and over again. After a while, Vega noticed that Zegion's attacks couldn't reach him, and regained his arrogant confidence. Laughing, he taunted Zegion, claiming that Zegion was finally experiencing his true power. Vega, filled with hubris, called Zegion a weakling and a fool, reasoning that Zegion was wasting energy on ineffective attacks. Declaring that it was time to show his full power, Vega raised his arms, fusing them into a cannon-like shape. This was his strongest attack, Infinity Eater, a technique he had learned from Moss during the battle in Ingracia, thanks to the eyes of his evil dragon beasts. Vega had discovered that this technique suited him perfectly. Unlike Moss, who needed to refine absorbed energy to use the attack, Vega had no such limitation with his Lord of Evil Dragons, meaning he could unleash the attack repeatedly if necessary. As previously mentioned, Infinity Eater is an ability that reduces all wavelengths, essentially, energy frequencies, to 0, making it capable of piercing and devouring everything. As long as his opponent's existence points were lower than his own, Vega could consume them without resistance. With Vega's existence points nearing 20 million and Zegion's under 5 million, Vega believed the gap between them was insurmountable, and he was absolutely certain of his victory. Facing Vega's full-force attack, Zegion calmly stated that he already knew this technique, rendering it useless. The vicious energy wave passed through Zegion, yet he remained completely unharmed, standing firm and exuding an air of superiority as he gazed down at Vega. Just as Zegion had predicted, Infinity Eater had no effect. Zegion had previously sparred with Moss and suffered greatly the first time he encountered the technique. He had only avoided defeat because Moss's existence points were lower than his own. Acknowledging its danger, Zegion had thoroughly studied Infinity Eater and devised a countermeasure. Zegion explained that Infinity Eater works by reducing the energy's wavelength to zero, then using that energy to pierce the target and absorb them. His solution was simple. If he neutralized the energy before its wavelength reached zero, the attack would be ineffective. He had successfully countered the move by harmonizing with the energy's flow rather than resisting it. Vega was stunned, unable to comprehend how Zegion could withstand his attack unscathed. Zegion continued, saying that Vega was merely adjusting the energy's frequency. As long as he synchronized with that frequency without resistance, the energy would flow through him harmlessly, aligning with the fundamental truth of the universe. Vega, in his confusion, didn't listen. Fear began to overtake him. The realization dawned on Vega that the massive gap in existence points no longer mattered in this battle. Zegion scoffed at Vega's ignorance, stating that someone like him wasn't worthy of being his opponent. Panic-stricken, Vega tried to stop Zegion from approaching, but Zegion ignored him, walking slowly and remarking that, compared to Rimuru-sama and Veldora-sama, Vega was nothing more than dust. In truth, from the very beginning, Zegion had used his ultimate skill, Lord of Fantasy, to control the isolated space they were in. In a world where everything moved according to Zegion's will, Vega's struggles were utterly futile. Knowing Vega, his first instinct after realizing his defenses were failing was to ensure his own survival. While his attacks didn't work on Zegion, he believed that Zegion also couldn't break through his defenses. Vega unleashed every defensive measure he had, confident that with absolute defense, he could continue eroding the labyrinth. Once he completely took control of the labyrinth and solidified his immortality, Zegion would no longer be a threat. Vega believed that even if he couldn't win now, it was only a matter of time before he did. But the farce ended there. Zegion struck one of the circular shields surrounding Vega with a simple punch. Just as Vega prepared to mock the futility of Zegion's ordinary punch, all four of his circular shields shattered. Vega, terrified, collapsed onto the ground. He accepted his fate. No matter how much he struggled, there was no way he could defeat Zegion. Zegion continued to explain, stating that while Vega's abilities were overwhelmingly powerful in the physical world, they were woefully weak in the mental realm, leading to this outcome. Vega, panicking, pleaded loudly for Zegion to calm down and listen to his explanation, begging not to be killed. Yet Zegion did not halt his advance. Desperate, Vega scrambled backward and summoned his circular shields once more. Although they had been destroyed earlier, Vega himself remained unscathed, so he believed that as long as he could keep producing the shields, he would be safe. However, Zegion's left hand glowed as he unleashed Dimension Ray, instantly obliterating all of Vega's shields again. Vega, now frantic, tried to conjure more shields, but before he could react, the shimmering glow of ultimate steel pierced his abdomen. Zegion's lightning-fast spinning kick tore through Vega. As the light faded, Vega was left kneeling on the ground, tears streaming down his face as he vomited uncontrollably. Clutching his stomach, he begged Zegion for mercy, pleading for his life. But it was futile. Zegion's left fist began to emit a faint glow, and a blood-curdling scream echoed from Vega. Yet, just at that moment, something shifted within the labyrinth. Alright, that's all for this video. Clearly, Zegion hadn't revealed his full strength in this battle. Throughout the fight, he relied on basic attacks to handle Vega, and even then, he effortlessly overpowered Vega, whose existence points exceeded 20 million. Zegion's presence has continuously driven the innovation of combat techniques within the labyrinth. He has even improved on the Veldora-style killing arts, taking its power to new heights. But the most incredible thing about Zegion is that he possesses Rimuru's cells, a factor that will play a significant role in future battles. These cells give Zegion an advantage that even Diablo and Benimaru admire but cannot reach. In our next episode, we'll shift focus back to Dino and Shuna. After being killed 4 times, Dino will finally resolve to break free from the control of Lord of Justice. As one of the laziest but strongest characters, Dino has the ability to do so. Even more impressive will be Shuna's demonstration of her abilities, which bear a striking resemblance to Seal's. It's as though a weakened version of Seal herself has manifested in the mortal world, no doubt due to Seal's sending aid across time and space. We'll also delve deeper into Dino's backstory. The next episode will be full of excitement. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. See you in the next one.